Yes, big up, people. Welcome back to 12th Man. Channel's back. This show is back. Gooner to Gooner. Well, one of my favourite Gooners is, of course, Chris Hudson. Chris, Happy New Year to you, mate. How was your Christmas and New Year, bro?
Yeah, it was all right, Dan. Ate too much, drank too much, like 90% of the population, but there you go.
Yeah, man, I've had enough of eating and drinking rubbish now. I've got to get back onto it, to be fair, because I probably lost a lot of weight couple of months ago. I probably put it all back on at Christmas now. So I'm going to have to sort that out in the new year, mate. But look, we start off 2025 with a victory. What were your thoughts on the game last night, bro?
I thought it was a fantastic team performance, Dan. You know what I mean? And also, with injuries, we lost yet another player for illness. And then before the game, there was a lot of rumours about he may not be the only one. So I think to go to Brentford, sloppy start, come back. And in the end, I was chilling out. Once we hit that third goal, I thought the game was over. And it was great to see Jesus score. I thought he played really well yesterday, Dan. And
Yeah.
I like his comments today. He's saying he's got to change his game a little. Still running around doing nothing. He wants to concentrate in that penalty box, and I think that'll do him the world of good. It might avert him getting lots of injuries. And I thought what can I say? I thought he was wonderful. I do love seeing a homegrown player come through the ranks, Dan. I really do.
Let's start with the team news, because talking of homegrown ranks, I was surprised not to see Miles Lewis-Skelly continue at left back, because I've been impressed with his performances. What did you make of the team news with Calafiori coming back in there?
I was shocked like you, but I suppose Calafiori, you can't, with young players, which we'll get onto later on, you can't overplay them. So I wasn't that shocked. I thought Mourinho, that was quite a good move, bringing him into midfield. I thought he had one of his better games. Other than that, I was quite happy. I think basically because our squad's so small, we haven't got a lot of options. And I thought, funny, Arteta's hinted at the last couple of weeks, hasn't he? The press conference just before Christmas when he said we went into the season and we knew we've got a smaller squad. And he said it again yesterday about we have to manage the squad because it's so small. So is he sending little messages there, Dan? What do you think?
That's what I said on my show a couple of days ago. I said his press conference was so clear that this squad is too thin to compete.
Well, it is.
I agree as well. But with him saying that, that's a huge message to the Cronkies that we've got to go and do something in January. It can't just be bring on someone in loan. We've got to go and actually make this team a little bit stronger. And maybe we do that in a number of positions. I don't know. We'll come on to that after the Brentford talk. But I wanted to ask you about a couple of performances in particular, because like you, I was impressed with Jesus, and I thought he looked similar to how he did when we first signed him in 22-23 season. I was impressed with him against Palace as well. Scoring 5 goals in 2 games is great whoever you're playing for, right? But he just looks sharper. He looks to be more of a nuisance. He's getting on the end of things. He's been in the right place at the right time. Looks a little bit more confident when he's playing. But the player I wanted to mention, who I thought was player of the match, is someone who I think has kind of gone under the radar so far this season. And for me, he's been our best player outfield. Thomas Partey, mate, in midfield, was pulling the absolute strings. The interceptions, world-class breakups, superb duels won, and everything that we did pretty much come through him, mate. What do you make of his performance?
I'll tell you, I don't want to curse him, but isn't it ironic? The year we've been hit hard by injury, touch wood, he's managed to stay fit. It's weird, that, isn't it?
Yeah.
I thought he was outstanding. And the next question is, does he deserve another contract? And the answer is yes. But, you'd have to, I wouldn't give him 3 years, Dan. I'll give him, say, 1 + 1. But, he has been a rep. But the thing is, because we now got Timber getting suspended, he's going to have to go back to right back, which I hate seeing him there. And he'll be up against the Brighton winger, who's quite tasty. So I'd like to think Arteta might come up with something new Saturday.
Yeah, obviously Matoma's going to be on that side, ain't he? Like chasing him down, which is always tricky. I mean, he's a top.
His hamstring go.
Well, I don't. Yeah, can you imagine? But look, I think he's been phenomenal, and I think that's one of the reasons why people are having this discussion about what we do with Declan Rice. Because I like Declan Rice in that position, but I think Thomas Partey is our best holding midfielder and has been this season. And it's why I want to see more of a double pivot with both Rice and Partey, as opposed to Rice being asked to bomb forward a bit. Because as much as I quite like him going forward at times, I do think he's better off the ball in that number 6 role, where he wins a hell of a lot more and gets himself involved. And you can see why there's that conversation now. In terms of the extension, I think we just do it. Because let's be real, Chris, we can't lose Partey and Jorginho, because then we're going to need a midfielder that everyone thinks we need already, plus 2 more that we're going to lose. We can't just
I
completely
know.
out our midfield, can we?
The thing is, though, with Miles Lewis-Selly's doing so well at left back,
Yeah.
but his proper position is, funny enough, is midfield, and I've seen him play in midfield. And if people think he's a fantastic left back, he's a miles better midfielder.
Yeah.
So, but I'll be interested to see what they do there. But you're right. Jorginho, I think, could end up on the coaching staff, but that's another story. And you're right. We will have to bring another midfielder, because we got nothing other than that 15-year-old boy. We got nothing coming through the youth ranks in that position.
Yeah, Max Dowman is the only one really, but he's more
Yeah, he's
attacking.
too
Obviously,
young.
he's way too young. Yeah, he's literally turned 15 yesterday. So he's way too young. But I mean, listen, promising for sure. But look, let's look at Merino, because I thought yesterday in the first half he was at the turning circle of a Land Rover, was slow in everything that he did, and was so unagile. It was crazy. Then he got the goal, and he started, I thought, to look a little bit better in the second half. What have you made of him? Because I don't want to be too harsh, but I haven't really seen enough to get excited about him yet.
No, I think he's a squad player, Dan, isn't he, really? He's not.
Yeah.
I think that I know I often make historical references when I come on these programs, but he reminds me very much of a John Jensen, David Price, Hillier sort of player. Every team needs that sort of player, though. You can't all be wonderful violin players. You've got to have a few like dustbin players that just do the work. And that's what he does. I don't expect that much of him. And, he's a handy player to bring in, Dan, and he's a squad player. End
I
of.
think when I said this, everyone thought it was harsh, and I honestly do not mean this as an insult. I think we've got rid of El Nini and we've brought Merino in. That's what I see it as. I don't think that we've bought it. We've let go of El Nini and we've bought in Steven Gerrard, have we? We've
No.
let go of El Nini and we've found another squad player in Merino. Now I think Arteta does rate him. I don't know that he rates him quite as highly as what some people said he does when he brought him in the summer. People saying he's obsessed with Merino and wants to play him in every minute. Well, he's proven that he's not, because he hasn't been playing every single minute in every single game. I do think that he is physically imposing. He's definitely better in the air than El Neni, and he's definitely as comfortable on the ball as El Neni. And people will laugh and go, El Neni, he was awful. El Neni actually
No,
weren't awful. El Neni was
no.
a good squad player, right? And everyone needs them, like you've just gone through. The names you mentioned, likewise, I think were quite. David Ilya was well underrated, by the way. He was definitely a player you needed in a squad, right? So when you look at players like that, he's definitely needed. Now, maybe I'm on my own here, but I thought that we were going to bring in a midfielder that wasn't going to be, someone who's going to be a squad player. I don't mind bringing in Merino, but I felt like we needed a proper midfielder on top of that in the summer. And I still think that we need that, if I'm honest with you. I still feel that left 8 position, we're still playing Havertz there sometimes. Rice gets a few games there. Then Merino does. I've seen Trossard play there before. Last season, we were mixing it around between Havertz, Smith Rowe and Vieira. I'm not sure he's settled on that position yet, Chris. Do you?
No, but the thing is, in the last couple of days, you notice Arsenal being connected with Bellingham's brother at Sunderland.
Yeah, saw that.
And I don't know if I watched Sunderland, Sheffield United last. So I tell you what, he's outstanding.
Oh yeah,
And
you like him. You rate him.
I'd love to see the Arsenal get him. I really would.
I haven't seen enough of him. I haven't seen enough.
I think he's a good player, Dan. I really do. Or you might go for Zubimendi at Sociedad again in the summer. But apparently he still doesn't want to leave Spain, So I don't know who there is, really.
No, I mean, there's a lot of talk about De Jong at Barcelona being an option.
No, thanks.
I've heard. I actually really like Bruno Guimaraes over at Newcastle, but I think Manchester City like him as well. So yeah, I don't know what your thoughts are on that position, but Bellingham for me, look, I haven't seen enough of him. I just think a 19-year-old kid from the Championship, is that what we need to put pressure on to go across the line? Maybe he'd be a good player. I don't know enough about him, Chris. You've seen more than I have. I've just heard he's Bellingham's brother. And
I think he's more than just Bellingham's brother. I think he's a really good player. Really
all
do.
right. Well, I'll keep an eye on that one because that could happen. That's a realistic target, that, in my opinion. Look, we'll come on to January in a minute. I wanted to talk about Nwaneri yesterday because I thought he was outstanding. And I've got to say it, he looks a bit like Saka when he plays. You know, like he gets on the ball and he's got that kind of excitement and he cuts in on his left like Saka does in that position. I kind of never thought of it before, but I think it's a natural sort of replacement for him on that right-hand side. Now, I will say I do still think we need someone. But for now, I think Nwaneri's got to play on the right after that performance, Chris, don't you?
Yeah, well, I've been going on about him for ages, Dan, haven't I? Even
Yeah.
I was overjoyed to see him play and play well last night. But you're right, we can't be dependent on him every game from now till March, April. You got to bring him in, bring him out. So it's going to be interesting to see what games. I'll keep him in for the Brighton match.
Yeah.
Then we got those 5 massive games coming up at the Emirates. So I'll play him against Man United, may not play him against Newcastle, play him against Zagreb, may not play him against Tottenham. You know what I mean? I'd have to
Yeah.
pick and choose his games. We can't depend on him.
No.
And that's why I know we still need to bring someone in.
Yeah, I think we do. And look, I really like this kid. I really like this kid. I've been a big fan of him, and I've been crying for him to start more games. I don't mean he needs to play every single minute of every single game, but there's certainly been minutes that we could have played him in this season that Mikel Arteta has chose not to. And I think he realises that that's potentially a mistake now when Odegaard was out. We're now seeing him play when Saka's out. So that means he's definitely learned from his mistakes, in my opinion, Mikel. I thought he was brilliant yesterday. I thought everything that we did that was looking good going forward come through him. His delivery, by the way, is very underrated. I thought he was excellent from corners and from free kicks and everything that he put into the box or delivered. His passing's good. He drops that shoulder and he spins on the ball, and you think, wow, he's going to make something happen. It looks exciting. He looks like he's got flair and he's got some presence about him.
Nothing seems to fluster him, Dan, does it? He keeps that, you know what I mean? He keeps that very same facial expression all the way through the game. I thought he's like that, and he Mr. Calm. Yeah, he's
That's
a
what I love
fantastic
about him.
talent.
He's fearless and he's confident, but he's also so calm and composed on the ball.
Yeah.
I don't, when you see like young kids come through that look exciting, you think, oh, don't do too much, son. He's lost it. He's a bit rash. He needs to calm down. I haven't got that with him one bit. Every
No,
time he gets the ball,
he did it once yesterday during the whole game. Do you remember when
well,
he
there you
went
go.
in field beat and he gave the ball away? And then that he didn't. He was superb. But then Odegaard gave the ball away for the first goal. So
Yeah, I mean, that was the next player I wanted to come on to, really, because since he's come back from his long term, I've seen a little bit of inconsistency, Chris. I'm not getting on his back, by the way, because I like Odegaard, and I expected him not to come back, the full right. But there's glimpses that I think, oh, he's brilliant on the ball, and there's other glimpses I'm thinking that's not quite right from you. What have you made of him since he's come back? I think he's been a bit up and down.
Bit like you, Dan. But I suppose that he done I've noticed, when he's hitting the ball lately, he's not hitting it. I wonder if he's up here. He's still worried about his ankle.
Yeah.
And remember, at Ipswich, you got another knock on it, didn't you? Do you remember towards the end of the game? So I think basically, mate, what with a new baby in the household, plus the fact he's getting over an injury, and top of that, because he's the captain, I think he's sort of everything's like that. You know what I mean? He's not Mr. Calm, cool. He's rushing around everywhere. He needs to calm down a little bit. But who am I to tell Odegaard what to do? I mean, he's a wonderful player, and it'll come. But I think he's trying to do too much. I think he's trying too hard, if you see what I mean. I think he needs to relax a little bit.
No, I'd have to agree. And I do look at glimpses of him and I think, wow, it's wonderful to watch. And I still remember when I was at Stamford Bridge when he came back for his game, played 90 minutes, and I thought, you are a monster, absolute machine. Now he's done that with like 12 weeks out, whatever it was. Honestly, I'm a fan of him.
Very honest,
He is, mate. I agree with that. I do agree with that. And look, I know there's other Arsenal fans that aren't a fan of him to the level of some, and I'm not going to say he's our best ever attacking midfielder. I think we've had many better than him, right? But for now, I think he's by far our best of what we've got, and I like him, and I hope that he does improve. I hope he does come back to his best, because when we've got, him at his best, he is phenomenal. Lastly, I want to talk about our left-hand side, because I thought there was positives and negatives yesterday. I thought the positives was that Martinelli started to get back on the score sheet for a couple of games. I think that's definitely a positive for me. You know, we've seen him now against Palace and now against last night in the game. I thought it was a good goal, if I'm honest. I thought it was a well taken goal. And I have to say, you know, going against Brentford is no easy place to go. And I quite liked his performance. A lot of people I spoke to said, they weren't too sure about it again. And I thought he was all right, Martinelli. Talk to me, mate. What did you think?
I'll tell you what, Dan, I think that might be one of his best performances of the season.
Yeah, yeah.
You can level a lot, you can criticise a lot of things about Martinelli, or he doesn't get his head up, his crossing's a bit wayward. But one thing you can never criticise him about is his work rate and commitment to the team. So I think at the moment, I think he might be sacrificing a little bit of his natural game to help the team out. And I think people got to realise that. But I thought we played really, really well yesterday. And I thought that Calafiori had a dodgy start, but as the game went on, I think he got better. But trouble with him, he still don't look fit enough to me, Calafiori. And I feel
Mate,
more secure with Miles there.
I gotta say, I thought he was the weak link last night for me, Calafiori. I don't know what he was doing for that goal. It was a poor defending.
Yeah,
I don't know about you, Chris. I think he looks fairly uncomfortable at left back. People have said to me that they look so comfortable on the football and all that, but yeah, on the ball maybe, but off the ball, I think his positioning looks all over the place. I've got to say that, and I can't be hypocritical because I say that about Zinchenko, but I honestly think he's positioning at times. I don't quite understand it, and you know, Kenny said to me quite a few times, "Why are we playing a centre back at left back? This kid's a centre back. It's obvious." And I must say, I think Miles Lewis-Skelly looks more of a left back comfortable there than he does. And yeah, he got into the game a bit better. I don't think he had a great start at all. In fact, I thought it was a shambles. And along with Raya, I think they were doing their best to give him a goal. But Raya picked up obviously his form. But I don't know about this Calafiori. Something about it ain't sitting right with me at the moment. I haven't been excited by the signing. I thought I would be because everybody wanted this kid, Chris.
yeah. But the thing is, he is more of a central defender.
Yeah,
And
he
I
is.
think as time goes on, I see Miles actually securing that left back spot. I mean, he's doing so well. I mean, England have got a massive weakness at left back, you know. And if he continues his the way he's going, I know it's a big thing to say after a few games, but I can see him getting in the England team. Seriously, I
Well,
mean,
I agree.
watching him, he reminds me more of a Kenny Sansom than Ashley Cole. I'll tell you that now.
Well,
Yeah, I
I've
know.
got to be honest with you because I look at the left backs that England have had in the last few tournaments, and they have picked squad wise Ben Chilwell and Luke Shaw, right? Which is pathetic to be fair. And then obviously they've had Trippier playing over there or one of those guys. I look now, Lewis Hall at Newcastle, been brilliant.
I
Miles Lewis
like him.
Skelly, yeah, Miles Lewis Skelly at Arsenal. And the other one is obviously the Palace lad, who I've always liked, Tariq Mitchell. I've always thought he was a solid 7 to 8 out of 10 sort of left back, right? So I think England are them three. If they dare, you know, Southgate's gone now, so hopefully Tuchel won't do this. But how he can pick those players, there's some of those I don't get. But for me, I think Miles Lewis-Skelly, I think he has a future in this team at left back, and I think he has a future at left back. And I
Oh,
appreciate what you're saying about him being a midfielder, and I do think he'd be brilliant there as well. But I think there's a position for him there. I really do.
well, I can see Calafiori actually becoming cover for our two centre halves because I think Russell Kivior might move on,
Yeah,
Sinchenko will move on, and Tierney will move on. So suddenly we'll be looking for another left back as cover to Miles.
yeah, yeah. No, I agree with you. Look, there's a lot of rumours about this illness that's kept Havertz out. There's a couple of others. There was rumours that Rice weren't 100%, that's why he didn't start. If they do come back in the next few days, because we play Brighton in 3 days' time, or 2 days' time, isn't it? What do you feel he'll do with the team lineup? Because Kai Havertz, he does love him, and if he is fit, do you think he comes in, and who does he displace out of this
I
team?
don't know, Dan, because we got next week's massive, isn't it? We got Newcastle, and then we got Man United, and then we got Tottenham
Yeah,
the following midweek. So I think he's going to have to be a little bit trouble with bugs. They don't clear up. We don't know how long he might take to clear up. But if everyone's fit, I think he'll bring Declan Rice back at Brighton. Unfortunately, move Partey to right back. And funny enough, I'll leave it alone. I'll put Havertz on the bench then.
that's what I'd do. And do you know what? I've been saying this for a long time, and not a lot of people like it. Judges loves Havertz, and I get why. He's one of his. He sees it. I don't quite see it as much as he does, but he does. But I think Havertz is an unbelievable sub to bring on. That is something that completely changes your way you play, a different dimension. He's a little bit like bringing on an Olivier Giroud type who just causes havoc and gives you a dimension that perhaps you haven't had. Put some aerial crosses and allow him to be a nuisance and cause havoc. And I think that is a really good sub. And it was true and evident, and nothing more evident than when he came on against Monaco in the Champions League. I thought he was brilliant when he came on the last 25
Yeah,
minutes. So scored and assisted, made an absolute nuisance of himself. And that for me is, I think, what we need. And I have to say this, and I know some people don't like to hear this, but I think we're a lot more free flowing without Havertz. I think sometimes him in the middle, he does kind of allow the people start to lump it a little bit more long to him, And I think the way we were playing yesterday, we didn't miss him because we were playing it a lot more on the floor, and I quite like
yeah.
to see that.
It's horses for courses, Dan, isn't it? I mean, like, I think that Newcastle game next week, I mean, they're one of the best teams in the Premier League at the moment.
Yeah.
But you also know they're going to come. Every time we play Newcastle, it's a bit of a battle. So I think you have one eye on that. But I think, as I said, Saturday, Rice will come back and Partey right back. Leave it alone. But I'll have Havertz back for the Newcastle game, Dan. That's going to be a bit of a battle.
Well, let's go into that quick because we have got 2 cup games that you've mentioned. Do you see us going through in both of those, mate?
Out of the 2 of them, I want to beat Newcastle. So I know people Man United are crap at the moment. I'll take that on board, but I have a feeling that I'm see us heavily rotate again. At the moment, our squad ain't good enough to challenge for 4 trophies. So if we had to sort of, I don't want to lose any game, but I can see Arteta going full strength against Newcastle because you're 180 minutes away from the final. Then I can see him possibly rotating a little bit more for the Man United game. What I'm going to say, I think Raya will play against Newcastle, but I wouldn't be surprised to see Neto in against Man United. That's what I'm trying to say. And I wouldn't be surprised. I know it's a hard thing to say, but on the Newcastle game, people poo-poo the League Cup, but to win the League Cup this year, you're going to have to get past Newcastle, Liverpool, or your North London rivals. So it's a trophy to be won. I think that's the nearest one for me, Dan. So what I'm trying to, in a roundabout way, I'm confident or hopefully would do Newcastle, but Man United, I might have to leave in the lap of the gods. You see what I mean?
So I think we can get through both of them. Is the simple answer. I actually think he's going to go quite similar with the team in both of them. So what I mean by that is, I mean, obviously you can't play Neto in one of them, but you can play him in the other. I think Neto will play against Man United, but I expect to see Jorginho coming into these couple of games. I expect to see Kivior, as much as I'm not a huge fan of the lad. I expect to see Nwaneri and Miles Lewis-Skelly both playing. We haven't got much in attack that we can do other than play Trossard or Martinelli, so I expect to see them rotating a bit. So I do expect to see a little bit of a similar team for both. And I think that he needs to take both of these cups seriously because he hasn't done in the last couple. Now, what I'm not going to say is that he can't rotate and he has to go with the same team, again, strongest team in all of the cup competitions. The reason we can't do that is what I go back to. We didn't do enough in the summer to allow ourselves to do that. We just haven't got a big enough squad. So, like you say, I agree. We haven't got a big enough squad to compete in all 4. Now, we're 1 game away, or 2 games away, should I say, getting to a final. So if we had to take one, prioritise one, then it would actually be that one. Now I want to win the FA Cup, of course I do. But if I think we could, I'll tell you what I'll do. I'll make this easier. I think we can beat Man United with more of a rotated side than we can Newcastle. And I think that's what you were getting at. Because Newcastle have been phenomenal. And we've got to go back to their place, which is going to be tough, by the way, in the second leg. And I actually go as far to say that we need to be winning our Emirates tie to go to St James Park and win. Because if we're drawing it, or God knows we're losing it, I think we could have a real tough ask to actually get through that fixture because we never do well at their place. And we don't do well with our first team, let alone with our second string team. So I think we'll rotate for a couple of them. He definitely will go strong against Tottenham because he'll want to. He'll have to as well, by the way. Because North London derby.
Yeah, well, Tottenham. if you look at it, we got the 2 cup games, and we got Tottenham and Villa. I go strong, because I'm still hunting down Liverpool, and if we don't hunt Liverpool, we still got to come in the top 4, and then I think you could rotate against Zagreb, and then go full strength Newcastle away. I mean, if you look at our fixtures, by February the 5th, after you're walking out from the St James's Second League, you'll know where our season is. Because by then, you'll know where you are. Are we in the League Cup final? Are we in the 4th round of the FA Cup? Have we qualified for the Champions League? Are we still putting pressure on Liverpool? 4 things, February the 5th, that's when you'll know.
Well, I've said this a few times. Say that again, mate.
And the window will be shut.
Well, do you know what I was just going to say? Before you got there, I was going to say, and we'll know what squad we've got, because obviously the window will be shut. So you're right, mate. The 5th of February is the day, isn't it? Oh, if we go out of Man United and Newcastle and we are off of Liverpool by anymore, it could be Champions League or bust for Arsenal, because I think we're going to get through in that competition. And we all know what our European heritage is like and what we're like in that competition. And dare I say it, what we're like in Europe under Arteta has been nothing short of abysmal, if I'm honest with you. Some of the games we've lost over the years, my goodness. Even in the Europa League, we were losing to teams that we definitely should have been beating. So, look, it is what it is. Let's go into the January transfer window before we do come to a close of the last section. Big up to Suze, who's dropped a super chat. He says, big up to Dan and Chris. Hit the like and subscribe, people. Make sure we do that. There's over 500 of you in here, so make sure you hit the likes and subscribe, please, people. He said he'd like to see us go to pay Zubimendi's £50 million release clause, drop 30 million on Quinton Timber, who's Julian's brother, and a Lookman or Kudus. I know it's never happening, but I like to dream. Big up to you, man. Let's go into that window. Before we do that, people, make sure you hit the like button. We've not even hit 100 likes yet, so come on. Let's get that way over to 250. There's over 500 of you in here, so that's 50% of you. Hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. It's absolutely free to do, so please make sure that you do that. And big up to Suj for the super chat. You're a legend, my friend. Thank you so much. Chris, I'm not going to ask your names yet. I'm not going to ask your positions yet. I'm just going to ask you a very simple question. Are Arsenal going to do anything in January, mate?
I think the answer is yes. Because I don't know, did you hear Keown yesterday after the game?
No, go on.
He said that he's hearing from inside the club that they will do business. So if he's saying that, then I think we will. But who, how much, where, who knows? That last little list of players, the kudos speed. I'll tell you what, I'd love to get him over the Arsenal. I really would. But with West Ham selling.
The reason it's an interesting one is because he's got a release clause that don't come into play until the summer. So 85 million release clause, which means that West Ham will say, yeah, if you want him in January, he's 100 million because he's 85 in the summer. It ain't going to happen, right? So that one I just don't think is, if I'm honest with you, I don't think is realistic. And not for January. Maybe in the summer, I think it would be very realistic for a number of clubs. 85 million is actually a really good bit of business for a player of that quality at that age who can play in a number of positions. I think we're going to get a forward. I don't think it's going to be a number 9, though. I think it's going to be a wide forward. And I don't know if it's going to be a right-sided wide forward, a left-sided wide forward, or one that can play across a number of positions. But I think that we are going to need at least one of those, Chris, because I look at our bench yesterday, and as much as it was a good performance in the second half and it was quite convincing, we had 4 left-backs on the bench. And we had, like, Trossard, and that was it. So I know we had Rice as well, but let's be real, Rice, basically what I'm getting at, Trossard was the only attack-minded player that we had on the bench. We had Rice, we had Kivior, Kieran Tierney, Zinchenko.
And a young boy from the youth team.
And a young lad, Maldini, I can't remember his surname. But yeah, we had a couple of these young kids, right? That ain't strong enough, mate. And I understand we got Sterling out and Saka out and we got Ben White out. I get that. I totally appreciate that we got injuries and we always going to have. And Tommy Asu, another one, by the way, I just forget about now, because he just ain't been fit for. I mean, he's played 6 minutes, Chris, the whole of this season. Tommy Asu.
Frightening, mate.
I think we have to cut our losses with him because he's just not going to be fit enough, is he? So my kind of point is we need to bring in a wide forward. What position do you think that we will bring in? Are you in agreement with me?
I think we need a player that a bit of an X factor player, Dan. You know, when it's like the
Yeah,
Everton game, e.g., you know, we have them puffed. We need someone like, funny enough, like Anders Limpar sort of player
yeah,
going back. But I don't know who. I've got no idea who we can get. I mean, Lookman could be a good player, but
yeah.
you ask your club, will these clubs sell? That's the question. Or the boy at Bournemouth, the winger, who's a bit
Semenyo.
of an he's a big Arsenal fan. I mean, there's two, but whether you get them is another thing. I agree with you, but I can't see Arsenal spending 80, £100 million in January. I mean, I wish they would, but you know, history tells you they won't. So out there, somewhere in the ether, there's a player that could come in, but he's got to be an X factor player, Dan.
Well,
And
let me
there's,
throw
I
some
mean,
let me throw some names at you, right? And you just say whether you are a fan or not. Let's start with the wide players because I think it's more realistic we're going to get a wide players. You've mentioned Kudus, and we've kind of answered that one. Semenyo, you also mentioned, and that was one on my list as well. And the reason it's on my list is because it's just other players that people have said that they're a fan of. But the other one I wanted to talk to you about was the Wolves lad Cunha. Do you think he's a good player?
love it. I'll tell you what, I'll go and meet him at Euston, carry his bags to the Emirates. What a player. But once again, they're fighting for their lives, Dan.
Yeah.
And once again, so that's the trouble with the January. A lot of the players you want, you ain't going to get because you know you've got to wait till the summer because all these clubs ain't going to sell. I'm afraid.
Yeah, that's the problem we got. And if I'm honest with you, Cunha could actually be as hard to get as some of the others because Wolves are just going to say, look, talk to us in the summer. We're fighting for our lives now. I ain't selling you now. You can might have him in the summer if you want, but, you know, if we go down, but we need him because we're in a relegation scrap. I agree with you. I think that's actually a hard deal to do. The next one, actually, funny enough, scored against us last night. Brian and Buemo. What do you make of him?
Another one I love, but I thought Thomas Frank made it perfectly clear. He was asked, wasn't he? You know, you're going to have clubs come in, and he said, "Well, good luck with that." But you know, I mean, if you could drop 50 million on him, yeah, he'd be an ideal signing. Actually, he might be gettable because his contract's up in the summer, isn't it? So, you know, the money men at Brentford might say, well, I'm sorry, Thomas, we can't say no to 50 million. So you never know. I mean, yeah, that'd be a good player.
Look,
I
I
like
like
him.
him. I like him. I like him and Cunha, and I think that both of them players could come into Arsenal and be a part of our squad. Then we look to go abroad, and I think that's more realistic. I've got to be honest. I think that's more realistic. And the two players that a lot of people are mentioning, one of them's got a release clause, Nico Williams. He lit up the Euros in the summer. There's a lot of rumours, however, Chris, that he's not. I said Russ because he's in the chat. Because he wants to stay in Spain. Apparently, Williams. He wants to stay in Spain, Nico Williams, and I don't think he's had the best of seasons so far, mate. If I look at his
No.
stats, I think he scored a couple of goals. That's it.
So, I mean, a lot of these players don't want to leave Spain. You know, he's
Yeah.
not. I mean, the boy at Sociedad does it. Man City are coming for him. Liverpool coming for him. We've gone in for him, and he says, "No, I want to stay in Spain." So you know, you got to respect that. If they don't want to move, they don't want to move. You know.
Well, look, Nico Williams and Zubamendi have pretty much made it clear that they're quite happy eating
That's what I
tapas
mean.
in the sun. I mean, why wouldn't they want to come to rainy London? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I get what I get what you're saying. Look, the other two players I wanted to throw at you, well, obviously one of them was Lookman, who I actually am a fan of. I think he's been brilliant for Atlanta hat-trick in the Europa League final. He has had a stint in the Premier League though, and it didn't really suit him when he was younger. He was at Everton, Leicester, and Fulham.
Well,
But
yeah, he
I do
started it.
quite like him.
I remember when he was at Charlton, Dan,
Oh, right.
and when the Arsenal was sniffing around him then, but you know, obviously his career's taken. He's the coach at Atlanta has turned him into a fantastic player. Just before that, I think he actually played for Leicester and all. You know,
He did.
he's been like
Yeah,
what you would call a journeyman, but. The coach at Atlanta has turned him into a really good talent. I mean, he won African Football of the Year this year as well. Yeah, he'd be the
Superb.
one for me, Dan. But once again, it's getting him out of there.
It is getting him out there. Big up to Gasparini, who's a good manager, by the way, over at Atlanta. I've always been a fan of him, and I think he's done very, very well with him and a number of other players. I mean, if you can get Kolasinac winning stuff, you've done well. So fair play to him. But no, look, the other player I wanted to mention over there, as in terms of a foreign player, was Marmoush at Frankfurt, who has been absolutely killing it. I like him a lot, mate.
Yeah, and I do know someone in Germany who's on at me about him all the time. And he says he really is a quality player. I mean, I haven't seen. I do watch the old Bundesliga on the Sky, but I can't really remember him. But my mate, I do trust him when it comes to judgment of footballers, and he's always raving about him. And I think you can get him quite a reasonable fee down and all. So I mean, that could be the man.
I think that is the man, and I'll tell you why I think that's the man. Let me just check because I am sure. Yeah, here we go. He's got 13 goals in just 15 games, 7 assists on top of that as well, right? He's at Frankfurt at the moment, who, let's be real, are doing very, very well. In fact, I think they're second or third in the Bundesliga as things stand. They're third. So, and they're only behind Leverkusen and Munich, by the way, who are two top teams over there now. So I think he could be the guy. He can play on the left and up top. So that is perfect for what we need. And I think Egyptian international, he's not even too old either. He's actually a player who I actually do really rate, I think. How old is he? 25. So look, it's perfect for us. And it's realistic as well. Like he could go, they're saying 45 to 55 million, which I think is a steal for a player who's absolutely on fire at the moment. And this is the thing I want, Chris. I do not want somebody coming into the club which might be ready in a few months' time because the season's done. I want someone who's coming in to hit the ground running and, like you say, a moments player. And I think this Marmoush could be the one, mate.
Yeah. And obviously, but the thing is, I don't want this done on the 3rd of February at 23:59.
Nah.
It's. I mean, if I had my way, I'll be getting him in there and making his debut at Brighton. But you know what I'm saying? We need to get him in. In the real world, he could play against Newcastle next week. He's allowed to.
Yeah, exactly.
It's all about getting him in, isn't it? I mean, it'd be great. He's the one, Dan.
He wants to come to England. I know that. He wants to come to the Premier League. That is all we know. I don't know where, but he wants to come to the Premier League. Now, if Liverpool are interested, they'll probably go there because he's obviously going to be very close to Mo Salah, being an Egyptian king that he is. But I hope that we can go and be the team that want him. And I think that, if I'm honest, he would happily come, not just because we're the Arsenal, but because actually he can play. Like, he can actually get us some minutes here. We're struggling at the moment in attack. We really are. So that's that. Look, before I move on to some striker links, I just want to get this out there. I do not want to go anywhere near Marcus Rashford. What are your thoughts? Well,
I'll tell you what. Did you hear that Andy Mitten the other day? Like he's all things Man United. And he was talking about Rashford, and he said, I've spoke to loads of Man United managers who have had Rashford, and they've all said the same thing, that he's lazy, bad timekeeping. So as soon as I heard that, no thanks.
Look, I've always said it. No doubt about his talent. No doubt in glimpses we've seen it. But there's something wrong up there, Chris. Mentality-wise, I think he's terrible. Throws Teddy in the corner. We saw it at the weekend against the other weekend against Manchester City in the Manchester derby. He was told he was dropped because of his attitude, and then Diallo come in and scored. So I don't want him anywhere near Arsenal. And I understand that people think Marcus Rashford can turn his career around and Arteta get the most out of him. I don't want someone like that. We've already got Raheem Sterling. We've already had Havertz and Jorginho and Willian and Cech and all these guys that we've had from old clubs that surrounding by us. Go and find our own players. Stop using other people's goods when they've had enough. When I've said this before and people didn't like to hear it, but it's true. We go knocking on the door at Man City. Anyone you don't want? Yeah, you can have Zinchenko and Jesus. Okay, bring them over here. Tame at Chelsea. David Luiz, do you want him? Oh, yeah, we'll have him. A check. Oh, go on then, yeah. And the list goes on. Willian, even Lissana Diarra we had once. Jorginho, Havertz.
I noticed we're getting connected with another Chelsea forward in Kuku. You see that today in the paper? No.
I mean, I'm sorry. I don't even think that he's a horrendous player, but I don't want people that ain't done well at other clubs. Let's stop trying to turn us around into going, look how crap he was at this club and look how brilliant he is over here. I don't want to do that. I just want to go and get our own players from our own scouting system. Stop looking at what everyone else is doing. We must have scouts at Arsenal. I mean, what has happened to them, by the way? They must
And
exist
that,
still?
let me tell you, now, that is something I brought up the other day, and I was looking at Nottingham Forest. They're two centre backs. Now,
Unbelievable.
I think the combined fee for both of them was £28 million. I mean, what
Outstanding.
we used to find players like that, Dan, years
We did.
ago. Do you remember we woke up one day and we signed Eduardo?
Yep. And
But
that
we
come
don't
out of
seem to
nowhere.
do. Yeah, we don't seem to do that anymore. No, that's a good point about the scouting system. And like Brighton, they find players as well,
Oh,
don't they? But we never seem. I don't know why that is.
I
I know
remember
it's something.
Brighton. I remember sitting there thinking, "Core, that Bissouma looks good. Oh, they'll be in trouble now he's gone." Then they bought Caicedo, and then when he went, I thought, "Oh, they'll be in
Yeah.
trouble." Now they've got this new guy who looks quality as well, Baleba. I'm thinking, how the hell do they do this? Like, where
But
do
the
they
thing
get?
is, being fair to the Arsenal, it's not only us that they put to shame. I mean, if look at the amount of money West Ham have done this summer. I mean, they've wasted all the Declan Rice money because their recruitment is awful. And then look at Man United's recruitment, Dan.
Oh, horrendous.
Awful. I
Tottenham as
mean,
well, by the way. Tottenham are
uh,
the same.
I'll tell you
They got the
something.
Harry Kane money. They've wasted the Gareth Bale money, and now they've
Uh,
wasted the Harry Kane money.
How these people get jobs at football clubs and are allowed to waste so much money is beyond me. I reckon you could get any boy who plays FIFA to do a better job than some of these directors of football. I'm telling you, the amount of money really. I mean, I couldn't give a monkeys, but the amount of money these clubs waste. These foreign clubs, when they see a Premier League coming, they must be, oh, here we go, we'll rip this lot up. Look at the amount of money West Ham played with the forward from Dortmund.
Yeah.
Ah,
I
hell.
know, it's ridiculous. Like
Look,
it really is. Oh, I mean, Man United are the ones, aren't they? Paying that much money for Anthony and Maguire and all this. It's embarrassing. It really is. Like when Brighton and Forest have done what they've done, that Milinkovic is the signing of the summer for me. He's been
oh,
unbelievable centre half for them. He looks a monster. He really does.
yeah,
But yeah, look, Russ makes a good point. He said we sacked all the scouts after COVID. We used Kroenke's stat DNA method that he owns. The thing is with this stat DNA thing, right? As much as people like it because he looks good, we ain't playing football manager, are we? Do you know what I mean? We need to know what the mentality of the players are like, not just what their ability is. Because this is the problem with stat DNA. You look at it and go, oh, he's got all the stats in the world. He looks good. And he comes and he's a Marcus Rashford. He throws the toys out the pram and he's toxic and he gets everyone the ump. This is what we need to be careful about, this stat DNA. So we need to be looking at how they're getting on around their other clubs and what their sort of personalities are like. And we hear that, Edu, when he was here, they had 180 pages on each player and all this rubbish. I have, that's true, by the way. But that's what I look at, and I think that is what's needed. And there definitely is. I will say this about Arteta and Edu, to be fair to them. I don't think they brought any toxicity into the club. I think they got
no,
rid of that as best they could. And I think the players that have come in, whether they've been good enough or not, they've not been a problem player, have they? Do you know what I mean?
no. He got rid of all them, Dan.
Yeah, exactly. No, 100%. Look, let's end on the striker situation. I think we're going to get one in the summer, and if I'm honest with you, people might not like this, but I think it's going to be Benjamin Sesko in the summer. That's what I think we're going to do. I don't think that is something that excites me, but some people say he's good. He's 20 years old. I don't really think he's much of an upgrade on Havertz, if I'm honest with you, but he's certainly not scoring anything at the moment. So I want Isak in the summer. I've made that quite clear. If it's not him, then Gyökeres, but I think he could go elsewhere. What's your thoughts on the centre forward, mate?
Well, I totally agree. I mean, the boy at Newcastle, I mean, he's wonderful, isn't he? But
Yeah,
you're going to have to drop 150 million on to get him. Sesko, every time Leipzig are on the telly, I make a point of watching. The best way to describe him is he's totally raw, Dan. He's raw, but I think he needs coaching, and Arteta could be the man. The geezers at Sporting Lisbon, I think, will end up at Man United if they stay up. But I still think Al Vlahovic at Juventus, I think he could. I like him, and I still think you could get Arteta. Never, he always likes to get his man, doesn't he? He never forgets. So I wouldn't be surprised if we went in for him. But I think you're right about Sesko. Whether he's the answer, that's another question.
Well, my last question to you before we close is: do you think we could do more than one piece of business this January? Do you think we could
No.
get two players in? No, you think it'd just be one?
Yeah, I think it would be one or the. I noticed there's a little rumours appearing that we might terminate Neto's loan because
Right.
you can get a loan from Europe, but we've got 2 loans, you're not allowed any more from the Premier League. And there's a little rumour saying that Arsenal might terminate Neto's loan, allowing them to bring another loan player in. Whether that's true is another thing.
So who would we have as the backup goalkeeper then? The young kid, Setford.
I think you go with him, yeah. Or, but I still think we're still getting connected with buying goalkeepers. We're still out of the Espanyol bloke who we try to buy in the summer. Today we're looking at an Antwerp goalkeeper. So we're still in the goalkeepers.
I can't believe it. How many goalkeepers and left backs do we need? It was funny because I was on here the other day and I looked at the transfer rumours and I clicked on the Arsenal ones and it said Arsenal linked with left back and goalkeeper. I thought, no, we don't need any more, please. I've been having nightmares about our 9 left backs and 12 goalkeepers. Like, please, they can't be dealing with it, man. But look, if we're having to terminate a loan, then I'd actually be quite happy to terminate both of our loans because they've been pointless signings, in my opinion. If that's going to allow us to go and do something else, then so be it. But look, I do think we'll do business, Chris, to close. I don't know who it's going to be, but I do think it's going to be a wide forward, and I think that will be it. I think we'll get one player in, and that will be it. Whether that's enough or not, we don't know, do we? But
also, do you think we'll sell someone then? I can see Tierney leave it.
Yeah,
you go to Celtic, and I think if they get a big, say, an Italian club opposite enough money for Kivior, I think they might sell him.
So I agree. I think Tierney and Kivior are the only 2 that I think could go out. I don't think any of the attackers or midfielders will, unless, of course, it's one of the youngsters that we want to loan out or whatever. But for me, I think Kivior and Tierney could both go. But what does that mean for us in defence? Because then we're a little bit shorter again in defence, are we not?
Yeah, but then I'll go back to my earlier point. Calafiori could be your cover for your 2 centre halves and the left back, which means I'd make Miles first choice. When's Ben White back? Does anyone know? People forgot about him being injured.
People forgot. I think it's about February, March time.
You know, it's a bit of a gamble, but possibly could happen.
We could have Timber and Ben White as our right backs, and then at left backs we could have. I don't like him, but we could have Zinchenko, and Miles Lewis-Skelly and Calafiori that can all play there. Then when Tomiyasu does finally come back in 2086, we might be able to play him. And then obviously you got Gabriel and Saliba, but we still don't really have cover at centre back, do we? That's the problem. We don't really have any cover. We can't play them.
How many transfer windows we had, and we're still talking about, well, we ain't got cover here, we ain't got cover there. How much money have we spent? Well, we haven't. It's mad, isn't it?
It is mad. I said this the other day. We haven't completed one department yet in 5 years. We haven't got our defence, our midfield, or our strikers yet. And in 5 years, normally people are going, right, we just need them 2 players and we're done. But we're going, we need about 5 or 6 still. Yeah, it's a worry. It is a worry. But look, mate, we're going to leave it there. Big up to you for coming on, mate. I really appreciate it. Make sure you're following Chris over on social media, Chris Hudson. Make sure you hit the like and the subscribe on this one. This is going to raid over at Halftime Hook's channel, who's talking all things Arsenal now. So please make sure you stay tuned and go and spam his chat. Dan Potts sent me your 12th man raid, whatever you want to do. Big up for coming on, Chris. Happy New Year to all of you. And I will be back very, very soon. Take care, people. We're out of here.
See you later.